Hi, Derya. My name is Ellen, and I'll be correcting these essays for you. I apologize for the delay. I've been rather under the weather. You can probably imagine that once you hear me start coughing. So I apologize in advance for that. But let's see what you wrote in this set. Okay. Hi, Lucy. My name is Derya Akin. I'm currently pursuing my global business management course at Humber College. I recently got an invitation from English and Homestay program in UK. I'm so excited to visit the UK and improve my English skills. Since you will be my host family, I cannot wait to meet with you. My flight will be on next Friday at 5 p.m. I'm expecting to arrive at the airport visitors desk around 5:45 p.m. after collecting my luggage. I want to ask you about transportation options from airport to your address. Is there any public transit available? If not, what would be the easiest and fastest way to reach your address? Can you please share your home address details with me before my trip? I may need to save this address to my notebook. I do have another concern about my credit card. Do you think my Visa credit card will be valid to use in UK, or should I bring cash amount from expenses? Thank you so much in advance for your response. I'm looking forward to meet with you soon. Sincerely. Okay. So, um, I wanted to read it once through just to get a sense of your writing. And now that we've done that, I want to look at it a little more carefully, a little more closely, and analytically. So let's talk about the English and Homestay letter. You're writing it to your host family who you do not know yet. Yes, you will be living with them. Yes, you will get to know them rather well. However, at this current time, you do not know them. So, as far as I am concerned, this letter needs to be a formal letter. Okay? And if you want to argue with me about it, then fine. I'd say it has to be at least semi formal. All right. And what that means is that this introduction, "Hi Lucy," is inappropriate in both contexts. It shouldn't be "Hi Lucy." It should be "Dear Lucy," comma. It should be "Dear Ms. Smith," comma. Okay. "Dear Smith family," comma. All right. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to talk to you about was your paragraphing. Paragraphing in task one is not as important as it is in task two, but it's still important. And I felt like your paragraphing here was off. Now, paragraphing is what is how can I say this? It's what is examined in coherence and cohesion. So, students who do a better job of paragraphing in task one have a better chance of getting a higher score for coherence and cohesion. Here, I felt like your paragraphing was not what it should be. And this is why I want to mention the next thing. I want, when you're writing task one, to stick to the order of the bullets in the task. Okay, you'll see that it says introduce yourself, ask some questions, give details about your arrival. The reason I say that is because the way these bullets are ordered, the way they're organized, they create a very logical structure for your letter. Okay. So, for that reason, this information here should have been the end of your paragraph. And then the next paragraph should have been those questions that you asked. And then at the very end, you could have said, "Oh, I will be arriving at 5 p.m., etc., 5:45, etc. Okay? So that's how I would have liked this. It would have been a much better organized letter if you had done it that way. Okay, so we talked about that. Now let's go through what you actually wrote. So let's pretend you wrote "Dear Smith family," as I suggested earlier. My name is Derya Akin. I am currently pursuing my global business management course at Humber College. I recently got an invitation from the English and Homestay program in the UK. I'm so excited to visit the UK and improve my English skills. Since you will be my host family, I cannot wait to meet with you. All right, I felt like these sentences didn't really link together. I felt like they were very disjointed and they didn't create like a logical order of sentences. And that's what I would like to see here. So for me, uh, and not just for me, let me rephrase that. Basically, since we said that this is a formal or, okay, fine, maybe even a semi-formal letter, what we typically do is we start off with the reason why we are writing. Okay. So I would have started with that. Um, which means it should have been Dear Smith family. I recently received an invitation. Why received is a little more formal than got. I recently received an invitation from the English and Homestay program in the UK and was informed that you will be my host family. Period. I am very excited to visit the UK, improve my English skills, and of course, meet with you. Period. My name is Derya Akin, and I am currently pursuing my Global Business Management course at Humber College. Okay, so doesn't that make a little more sense? You're giving some background information, you're explaining the reason why you're writing, you're telling them how excited you are to meet them, and then you're introducing yourself. Okay, so that for me is a more logical organization. Then, in the next paragraph, like I said, I didn't want you to start with this. All right, so let's forget about this for a moment. Now, your language here is very informal. All right, so it's basic grammar, which is something else that we have to talk about, but it's also very informal. I want to ask you. Remember, this is a formal or semi-formal letter, so you need to use more formal ways of requesting information, like I would like to ask you regarding okay, or I would like to ask you about transportation options from the airport to your address. Could you let me know if there is any public transit available? Or um uh, could you suggest which public transit I should use? Okay, this is how we make this is how we make questions sound more polite. When we use things like I would like to know, or could you tell me, or could you suggest? All right, there are ways to make this kind of question feel less direct and more polite. All right? Um And then, what would be the easiest and fastest way to reach your address? That's okay. I mean, one or two direct questions is fine, but you need to also know that the majority should be these indirect questions. All right. Can you, instead of can, it should be could you please share your home address details with me before my trip? And then this was fine. Oops, wait. And then here, I do have another concern about my credit card. How can we make this more polite? Do you think my Visa card will be valid to use? Okay. How about this? I was wondering if my Visa credit card will be valid to use in the UK. Period. Do you suggest that I bring cash for my expenses? Okay, that would be fine. But you don't have to write a ton of questions. You really did have quite a few. You had one and then two and then three. Yeah, it's fine. And then this would be 4 or 5. That's fine. I mean, you could have maybe left one out, this whole thing about up here, and then this is fine. But again, I would have put all these questions into one paragraph. So when you said here, I may need I may need to save this address to my notebook, you could say my next concern is about my credit card. Okay, or my second concern, you could say here. All right, just to show that these are logically organized. I have two concerns. One is about how to get from the airport to your house, and two is my credit card. Okay, then my next paragraph would have been all this information about my flight. My flight will be on next Friday, 5 p.m. I'm expecting to arrive after collecting my luggage. Uh, Thank you so much in advance for your response. I'm looking forward to meeting you soon. I am looking forward to meeting you soon. Okay. A little bit of grammar there. And then that's pretty much it. So your grammar was fine, but like I said, you didn't have the right register. And by register, I mean formal or informal, how formal or informal it is. So that was one thing. And then, of course, the organization for me was an issue. I thought your task achievement was fine, But for me, coherence and cohesion was the area here that needed the most work. As the how to organize your answer better, and of course, how to use the right tone in this letter. All right. So it's a good start, but there's definitely areas that need to be worked on. Okay. So let's take a look now at your task 2. Oh, this is the one about who is the best people to speak to teenagers. Okay, fine. The result of a crime might be a tough lesson to learn by any person. This essay will examine how the prison experience of some people may help younger generation to avoid same mistakes that might end up as a crime. Okay, so one thing that you need to know about the introduction is that the examiner should be able to understand what the topic of the essay is from your introduction. Also, the examiner should know your position about the topic from your introduction. This is very important if you're aiming for band 7 or higher. From this introduction, unfortunately, I'm not really able to do either. Your description of the task is a little too general, and it doesn't answer the question if these ex-prisoners are the best people. You say why some people may help. I mean, it's just not clear. All right. So let's talk about what you could have done here a little differently to make both sentences stronger, more tightly focused on the question you've been given. Okay, let's take a look at that. Some people who leave prison have much knowledge and experience to share with the younger generation, period. In my opinion, these are the best people to help prevent crime in young people. Full stop. That's it. Okay, so you can see that my answer is much more targeted. It's still very short, it's still very to the point, but it's much more targeted using the language and the ideas of the task. Let's continue. Okay. People who spent a fair amount of their life in prison, you don't need a comma here, could learn from their own mistakes. When people behave in a way that makes them feel shame and guilt, noun, shame and guilt, they will end up with the judgment of their own mind. If they can keep thinking about the reason behind the act that they did, at one point, this might bring clarity to their thinking. It is so crucial to think and look for the reasons of certain behavior that cause a crime. For instance, some children may commit a crime because of their financial insecurity. They do not have a job. They try to, excuse me, they commit robbery or steal from others. Commit is the word you want here, not do. When they have learned that this is not the proper way to earn money, they will never repeat the same behavior. They can investigate other proper ways and can become good citizens. All right. So for me, basically, I don't feel that this is directly related to the question. They're asking you, why are these ex-criminals the best people to talk to youngsters about crime? And you didn't really talk about what makes them the best people. Why? What is it about them? What information can they share? What can they tell us? Why would young people listen to them rather than somebody else? All right, so that's what you need to be talking about in this essay. And you gave me some reasons about shame and guilt and their judgment but then you've gone on to this idea about they have to look for the reasons behind the crime. And so I felt like this got very off topic and it just wasn't focused. Okay. So there are a handful of things that you need to do to make this focus. The first thing is you need to have a clear topic sentence, which introduces the central idea of the paragraph. And that should be something like, there are several reasons why ex-criminals make the best people to talk to youngsters about crime, period. The first reason why is because they speak from experience, period. Youngsters are very attuned to who is genuine and who is not. So when a former inmate talks about how awful prison life was and how devastating it was to their life, youngsters believe this far more deeply than if a police officer said it to them. That's how you do this. Okay. So did you see what I did? I gave you my reason and then I gave you my support. And I told you how youngsters want to listen to somebody who is genuine rather than someone who's just talking theoretically. That's how you have to do this. Okay. All right. Despite some people might learn, careful with your grammar here. Despite some people might learn from their mistakes. Okay, it's despite the fact that some people might learn from their mistakes and can help others not to repeat the same challenges. It would not be the same scenario all the time. Some prisoners, even after several punishments, are reluctant to continue their attitudes. Which attitudes? Good attitudes, bad attitudes? I'm confused here. Spending some amount of time in prison, okay, may not help them to observe the problems. Observe is the wrong word. You want overcome. Instead, they follow the same cycle of mistakes. They might not show any progress. To think of the root cause should be 2 words of the reasons why they engaged in crime. As a result, they cannot help any other people to learn the possible issues related to crime. Okay, this is because they cannot even help themselves. So grammar is an issue in this paragraph. There are other issues too. Let me read the conclusion, then I'll tell you. Overall, the prison punishment can help the majority of prisoners to rehabilitate, careful with your spelling, themselves. Those people can share their stories and experience with the younger generation. This would be an effective way to show real life stories and try to convince others to stay away from crime. Okay, grammar. So as you can see, grammar was an issue here, but not only. So I want to back up. I want to go back to your introduction. You wrote, the essay will examine how the present experience of some people may help the younger generation avoid the same mistakes. Okay, so I wanted you to be much more specific here, okay? Because your body paragraphs talked about 2 very different sides. It talked about the side of people who do not learn from their mistakes and would be terrible at this. And then there was another paragraph that talked about the people who do learn and can be good at this. So you needed to indicate this in your, that's right, in your introduction. How? Well, you could say, this essay will examine why some people may not be appropriate to talk to youngsters. However, there is a small segment of the population that would be ideal to talk to youngsters and keep them away from crime. That's actually what your essay was about. And then I would have taken that paragraph, the second one here. Yeah, this one I would have put it first because we talk about the weaker side first and then we talk about the stronger side. Okay, so a handful of things happening here. I needed your introduction to be clearer, and that's important for task achievement. I needed your paragraphing to be a little more appropriate. That's coherence and cohesion. Okay, and then I saw that grammar was an issue throughout. I had to correct a handful of things here. And vocabulary too. You had some incorrect vocabulary words. So it was a good attempt, but again, there were some weaknesses that would probably keep it from getting one of those really high scores. Okay, so what I really want to suggest to you, I think you're actually an ideal candidate for, is I'd like to see you do the online course. I think you're going to get all the information you need on how to organize your answers, how to answer questions directly and appropriately and targeted to the question and not just something relatively related. And I think it's going to really, really improve your writing. So take a look at that. I hope you'll decide to sign up, and I look forward to seeing more of your work in the future. Good luck.